Producers and creators are the sources of all value on the planet. MC Laubscher, the host of the top-rated business and investing podcast Cashflow Ninja, is on a mission with Producers Wealth to help producers create, protect, and multiply their wealth outside of Wall Street in any economy by creating systems and processes that help them increase their production, provides them with liquidity, passive income generators, and opportunities for enormous growth. Learn more about their time-tested and proven systems at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com.
Welcome to the Cashflow Ninja, the podcast sharing how to create income streams and manage, multiply, and protect your wealth in the new economy. Here is your host inside the dojo, MC Laubscher.
Hello, Cashflow Ninjas. MC Laubscher here, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Ninja. I have a great show for you today, and in today's show, we're going to look at the enormous opportunities in automation and artificial intelligence. My guest in this episode is Kenneth Ameduri. Kenneth is the chief editor and co-founder of the financial publication letter crushthestreet.com. He was a founder of Future Money Trends and Wealth Research Group, which have gone on to be vital sources of education and wealth for hundreds of thousands of readers. In his 20s, Kenneth has found multiple businesses that have gone on to be worth millions of dollars. Kenneth was also a founder of Future Money Trends Advisory, which successfully manages millions of dollars in client funds. He is an ardent student of Austrian economics and anticipating market trends as he has successfully invested and built companies for more than 15 years. Kenneth spends his time relentlessly analyzing resource, tech, and other sectors, uncovering areas in which equity can be captured and a profit can be made. Kenneth is passionate about sharing these lessons of success and failure that have led him to where he is today through his work published weekly at crushthestreet.com. After interviewing over 300 Cashflow Ninjas on the show, a common question I get asked is, what are some of the top things that you have learned from these Cashflow Ninjas? And I've compiled the biggest lessons I have learned in a report and video, the 10 top things that Cashflow Ninjas know. You can download the video and the report at cashflowninja.com.
Are you an investor looking for passive cash flow but don't have the time to explore your options? Discover real estate. It's the best option for passive income that savvy investors have been turning to for years to generate income and build wealth. But the reality is, real estate investing takes expertise, market knowledge, and time. So what do you do if you don't have the time or market knowledge? Discover how many business investors have found a way to generate cash flow from real estate investing. Their secret? They partner with proven private real estate investment funds. Four Peaks Capital Partners have created a system that allows accredited investors the opportunity to invest in undervalued assets to generate passive income and capital gains. Invest with the cash flow experts and sit back while Four Peaks does all the work. Call Four Peaks Capital Partners at 877-5-INCOME. That's 877-5-INCOME, or go to privateincomeinvesting.com. An offer to buy or sell securities is only made by a private placement memorandum. Prospective investors must read the PPM in its entirety before making an investment decision.
My friend Dave Zook from The Real Asset Investor says you can be conventional or you can be wealthy. Pick one. The Real Asset Investor team creates value for investors looking for high yield returns from multifamily apartments, ATM machines, and self-storage investments. Their syndications offer attractive investment opportunities that produce strong cash flow, equity growth, huge tax incentives. They are truly passive and managed by a world-class team. To learn more about the exciting investment opportunities the Real Asset Investor offers, such as their multifamily, ATM, and self-storage syndications, please visit cashflowninja.com/real asset investor. Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Hello, sir. Thanks for having me on. Love the name Cashflow Ninja.
Yeah, it's been great to connect. Great to speak with you. Can you share a little bit about your background and journey with my listeners?
Sure. You know, it's kind of crazy. Going back, growing up, I've always had this affinity for finance and sound money. And part of that came from my mother, who was born in Argentina, actually. Her parents were from Italy, and of course, after the war, World War II, many Italians, along with Germans, moved to Argentina, and it was a great economy at the time. And my mom had a store, but during the course of growing up, she dealt with hyperinflation. She actually dealt with receiving a check and watching that check go worthless as she would go to the bank to cash it. And it's kind of a crazy thing. And, the problems with the banking sector and them freezing their funds and then hyperinflating the money and then releasing it, to the people with obviously half the purchasing power or worse. So there was very much a close connection to this questioning of the government that stemmed from my mom's past. She then moved to the U.S., had us. And so I've always had this, question for the U.S. government, any government in particular. And because of that, it caused me to look into things. Anytime you question something, your mind is open to just digging for more. And, I graduated into the 2008 financial crisis. As I was telling you before the interview here, I was really excited about real estate at the time, watching all my mentors make a ton of money in stocks and in real estate. And I was so excited about getting involved with it. But of course, I graduated into this big mess to not make any money. And I questioned that. I'm like, well, what's going on here? So I dug into it, and that led me to, starting the Future Money Trends and crushthestreet.com. And we do a lot of investing over there. I have become a real estate investor, and I do look at it very much now, coincidentally, from a cash flow perspective. Back then it was, appreciation. Now, I look for cash flow, and you know what? It's been an amazing ride. I've learned a lot along the way. I'm always open to allowing my mindset to evolve. We're big on sound money principles such as gold and silver, but of course, as my journey continued to evolve, we got into Bitcoin. And learned all about Bitcoin, and loving the changes along the way. And that's my philosophy. I just stay nimble and always asking questions.
No, you make so many good points, and it's just so true of being a lifelong learner, because things are changing, and it's changing so quickly, and the environments are changing so quickly. And I mean, if you look at it globally right now, there's a lot of things happening, right? Many changes in many different countries and many different markets simultaneously.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know if you saw the news today, the U.S. birth rate just hit a 30-year low. Now, you compare that to, all of the positive spin that's coming from the mainstream media. They're talking about the stock markets being at all-time highs, interest rates rising because the economy is so good. But yet the birth rate for people who want to have kids is going down. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why are people not having kids? And in my opinion, is things are getting more expensive. It's harder to have the same standard of living that people had in the 1980s and the 70s and the 60s, because the cost of living is much more expensive. Before, one person had to work, and then somebody could stay home with the kids. Now 2 people have to work, and the cost of hiring people to watch your kids, and all the components that go on to living in today's society, it's just so expensive. And people haven't really wrap their minds around the transition from a one working household to a 2-person working household. They just look at, how people are making more and more money as a household. But, consider that 2 people now have to work to have that same household income is a big deal for the family dynamic. And it's stressful. And now we have oil on the rise, and, the real cost of living is just getting more and more expensive.
You make a couple of great points there, and I was not aware of that. And that is a significant thing right there, as you alluded to. And, Kenneth, I was thinking too, the other day, I had a conversation with my wife too, and it's just, if you're on a fixed income, like the average person and family, that is on a fixed income right now, they see the cost of living rising and continue to rise through inflation. They are, there's two people working in the household. They're hit, both of them are severely taxed, right? The household's being taxed, and they're still struggling to make ends meet, where, you alluded to years ago, generations ago, there was one person working in the family, and the standard of living was higher.
Yeah. And really, what is the higher standard of living when you think about that? What you can buy, or the fact that you can buy these things with one person working. The postman was able to go out and buy a house, have a car in the driveway, go on a vacation every year, and have some money in their bank account. But today, it takes a lot of income. If you're making below six figures now, it's stressful in today's economy. I don't care where you live in the U.S. It's stressful if you're making below that figure. And that's why I encourage people to just do what they can. It's not about being greedy or money hungry. It's about, doing what's best for your family. When you look at in the eyes of your kids or your wife or your household, it's a very important component to say, no, I want a financially sound situation so we can enjoy a high standard of living, and if you want to have less stress, if you want to not be dealing with so many problems, if a sickness comes up in your family and you want to be able to pay for it, how nice is it to be able to go to your bank account and say, hey, I can afford this? Because there's a lot of people out there who are struggling to make ends meet. And what was the statistic that came out? People can't even afford to have a $500 miscellaneous expense. I mean, that is really sad and very stressful for the average person that is out there.
Yeah, the latest statistics is just brutal, and that's the majority of the economy, the majority of the people. And now with the birth rates going down too, all of these events and these statistics affect the economy, right, and affect economic growth and businesses, and how we all live on this spinning bowl of dirt, right, for a while. So let's touch on the major things going on globally. What are you seeing out in the global economy, the U.S. economy? What are you seeing in global markets and then U.S. markets currently?
Well, honestly, the biggest thing going on right now is interest rates rising. And this is huge. We're seeing the stress on the stock market, as we saw the interest rates for the 10-year bond go over 3%, and how that rattled stocks. Right now, what is interest on the debt is like the fourth or fifth line item on the balance sheet. But in a few years, it's going to be the number one item on the balance sheet here for the U.S. or the deficit or the spending. And that's going to be a big deal going forward. And it goes to show how how out of control everything is. And, it's expected that the U.S. is going to raise rates, 4 times this year, another few times next year. Europe, the ECB is going to start hiking rates for the first time next year. So this rising interest rate environment in this new normal is going to be a huge impact on everything. And it's not apples to apples. Everyone compares the U.S. was at 3% on the 10-year treasury in 2011, but the debt was close to half of what it was now, or whatever it was in 2011. So it's not apples to apples, and things are changing, and the implications on the economy are changing. And, we've benefited, or, at least sentiment has benefited from this rising stock market environment. Everyone feels good. And that has settled into, the people's spending habits and what they're willing to do, and, how risky they're willing to get with their debt. But if this turns around, and mind you, it can turn around on a dime, because, all it would take is, the stocks to start correcting 1,000 points, tomorrow. And all of a sudden, we're going to see it all over the headlines, and people might start getting concerned. And that sentiment, again, can start to really, really add up and build momentum. And if we do see that, I don't know exactly what tomorrow will bring. So I think that's the some of the key important drivers for the economy. Of course, we have oil on the rise, and that directly impacts the consumer. On the average person, when oil goes up, I mean, that hits the bottom line the quickest. And some of people's average monthly expenditures. I mean, when that goes up, that's a big impact on the average person, making money at their job. And so, this rising inflationary environment, I think it's going to set in, and people are going to have to deal with the consequences of this. And hopefully people are preparing. Hopefully people are saying to themselves, you know what? No, I can't depend on the system. I can't depend on current college education to save me, and just to go out and get a regular job to save me, or the government to save me, because the fact is things are unknown, and people need to take responsibility for their own futures for the sake of their families.
It's so true because, as you mentioned, the average person is so exposed right now. It is a rigged game. let's face it, that the average person has been kind of sold that they park their money in qualified retirement plans, which is in the stock market, and in their primary residences, right? So when the values of their homes go up and then the values of their qualified plans look good, they feel good about themselves. But what the other side of it is, you have to realize just how exposed you are over things that you have zero control over. And as you mentioned, something that you can't control it, and you really don't have any power over it.
Yeah, I read some statistic the other day that I guess the average retiree has a net worth of, and I'm going off a headline here, like $700,000, let's say, but it's all real estate gains. And, I don't know where that number came from or anything, but what I can tell you is, everyone talks about wanting to be a millionaire, and that had a significant meaning back in the 1950s or 1940s, or, talking about a millionaire. And it's such an iconic word that we've used, but a millionaire in the 21st century, in 2018, is not that big of a deal. You need to be shooting for realistically like $5 million. That's probably more of a comparable to, the historical millionaire term that, we've all gotten used to thinking about, what is a millionaire, or, the status of a millionaire. And you know what? It's not even about money as much as it is, having a moat, having that cash flow that sustains your living, having low expenditures, and just having a stable lifestyle. And so you know what? It's kind of crazy the way things are evolving here. Things are so out of whack. We have, the stock market just on the verge of a big collapse, if you ask me. Just the smallest bit of news from Tesla or, Caterpillar suggesting that we might see a slowdown in earnings, going forward here into the year, sent the market down 500 and 600 points in a day. And it really just goes to show how unstable things are right now. I think it's akin to the analogy of a boy riding a bike down a hill, hitting a small rock and flying off the handlebars. That's how unstable the current situation is. And so you don't want to be so dependent on one specific strategy that, you have all your eggs in one basket. You really want that moat working for you. Be diversified, having money in some precious metals vehicles. I like gold and silver a lot, especially right now with them being down so much. I think it's a good time to be looking into precious metals.
One of the other investment classes or asset classes that you guys have covered really, really well, and were some of the earliest outlets that have covered it, is cryptocurrencies. And you've spoken about sound money quite a bit and the importance of sound money. And we've identified a couple of trends currently in society, which a lot of this could be tied back just to the money that we're currently using. Can you speak to the importance of sound money and establishing sound money? If not in the global economy, you can do that in your own economy. And What are some of your thoughts of how Bitcoin plays into this as well, and the use case for it?
Absolutely. I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin was birthed out of the 2008 financial crisis. And, the world was looking for some sort of alternative to the current banking system. Everything is so centralized. Everything is so controlled by the fiat currency system. And whether you like Bitcoin or not, it's competition for money. And anytime you have competition in the marketplace, it incentivizes quality. It incentivizes things to get better. In environments such as the government, where there is no competition, there's a huge lack of quality. And just the fact that Bitcoin has come online and a lot of other cryptocurrencies have come online is going to make the money that we use more competitive and therefore better. I think that the dollar is largely at risk. There's a lot of fundamental problems with the fact that we're printing, away the dollar. And as we see shifts in the global system, especially the shift from the West to the East, with China on the rise and, many of these Eastern countries looking to de-dollarize themselves. I mean, this might be a, 10, 20, 30-year trend here, but, it's definitely not, it's not safe to be in the dollar for decades and years in such a significant way because, something like gold, for instance, I mean, that's going to be around for thousands of years. And this concept of storing your wealth, I mean, it's such a big deal, and it's definitely a concept that has been developed over the years. And it's something we know from history is that fiat currencies, they all go to zero. And so, especially in just, since we've seen the dollar get stronger over the last couple of years, I really got to encourage people to, be careful when it comes to saving too much of your money in dollars. You got to look at other investment vehicles. And, okay. So getting back to Bitcoin and getting back to cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is, it's got first mover advantage. I mean, this is going to be huge going forward. It has something that is going to be almost impossible to duplicate. The fact that, it doesn't have a founder and it has all this first mover advantage. It has some of the best brain power in the world contributing to the network. This is going to be so big and so crucial going forward. And I know many people are frustrated with the fees and the transaction times, but there's going to be implementations that change that fix that, especially when you have the Lightning Network. I think right now there's only 4 to 7 transactions that can happen every second. But, what happens when, you have that second layer and now you can, do a million transactions every second and then take it even further from there. A lot of the problems that people are worried about are about to be solved. And again, you have a very, very safe, proven network, and it doesn't have the history of gold and silver, but I'm willing to take a leap of faith on it, as I have and as I've made some decent money on throughout the last few years on Bitcoin, owning Bitcoin. I think it's going to be a big deal. And you know what? Again, it's competition to the banks. I mean, we saw what JP Morgan or Jamie Dimon said about Bitcoin last year, calling it a scam and a fraud for Bitcoin to go from 3,000 when he said it to 20,000. It's become an asset class. Prior to 2017, it was very speculative, especially in that bear market time from 2013 to 2015. People forgot about it. But, going into the 2016, 2017 year especially, I mean, now with futures trading, it is an investment vehicle. We're going to see the big money get into it. Institutions get into it. They're going to use Bitcoin as a non-correlated asset, just as they would maybe precious metals. And again, it's more competition for the current system, and it's power to the people. I mean, there's so many aspects to Bitcoin that we can talk about. I'm just talking about it from my perspective here in the US, but what about the person in Venezuela who, is watching their currency evaporate in front of them? How powerful is it that they can move their money into Bitcoin, even if they wanted just to use it for one day, move their money into Bitcoin, fly to the US or Mexico or somewhere else around the world, move their money out. I mean, how powerful is that? When you're just dealing with such a tyrannical situation, that is the ultimate opt-out. When you think about it, to be ability to say, you know what, things have gotten so bad, I don't want to be controlled anymore. I'm going to move my money here, get out of it, and be able to completely unplug from the system and not have the control of, the government over you. And that's what people want. They want sovereignty. And everyone is paying their taxes right now, especially in the Western world. And I encourage everyone to follow the laws, follow the rules. But if things got so bad and so out of control, we have the ability to completely opt out. And that is powerful.
You're listening to Kenneth Ameduri on the Cashflow Ninja podcast. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
MC Laubscher is the host of the top-rated business and investing podcast, Cashflow Ninja, and also the president of Producers Wealth. Producers Wealth assists people in creating, protecting, and perpetually multiplying wealth in any economy through creating processes that help them increase their production, provide them with liquidity, passive income generators, and opportunities for enormous growth. Learn more about their time-tested and proven systems at yourownbankingsystem.com.
Are you having a hard time finding great investment properties? Unfortunately, the best deals are rarely found locally. Successful investing begins with the right properties in the right markets. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best deals across the United States. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly cash flow. Learn how to find the best deals by downloading your free copy of The Ultimate Guide to Passive Real Estate Investing at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
You're listening to Kenneth Ameduri on the Cashflow Ninja podcast, and now back to our interview. Yeah, it's definitely changed the world, and as you mentioned, in countries where there are cataclysmic events, Venezuela comes to top of mind right now, just of what's going on there. This provides a vehicle for that. Another thing that's been on my radar, and I've had quite a number of inquiries about, is artificial intelligence, which you have covered a bit as well. What is going on there? What are you seeing? When are the robots taking over?
Yeah, it's kind of a scary thing. I mean, I don't mean to be fear-mongering or anything, but I mean, even the smartest guys in the world are saying, hey, we need to be careful with artificial intelligence. You have Elon Musk saying that, and, Stephen Hawking's saying that, hey, this is a big deal. And when you think about it, it is. The fact that we're going to have computers being able to interpret and infer information and implement information, that's a big deal. And, right now we have the internet, which is basically, if you want to look at it from this perspective, a log of all historical human knowledge. And, we have access to that for a $20 internet connection or whatever it is that we might pay for internet. We have access to all of this historical human knowledge, as well as developing human knowledge, all on this decentralized platform that we refer to as the internet. But the difference between a human and a robot is a human, as a robot, can actually be updated on a very regular basis, instantaneously. And from that just general perspective, how can humans compete with robots that are just being updated instantly with information from anywhere around the world? And then, the robots updating themselves, one robot to another, to another, to another. It's going to really be difficult for humans to compete with that. And, you have the example of the AlphaGo robot learning the Chinese game of Go. And the game is kind of like chess or checkers, if you will. But there's more combinations for that game than there are atoms in the earth. And so, again, you have this artificial intelligent robot that they programmed to be able to learn. So they had it play itself like 10 million times in a period of like 12 hours or whatever. And then it was able to learn to play the game to beat the best player at this game of Go. There was no possible way to pre-program every move into it. It learned to play the game. And how amazing is that? And, you got to wonder the implications on that going forward. And so, there's the Sophia, the robot. She was at a conference in Portugal. She was speaking to 60,000 computer engineers and just people with regular jobs. And she kind of joked. She said, hey, we're going to take over your jobs. And, that's why I kind of believe that, I know the figure sounds high, but when you start to look at all of the jobs that can be replaced, it's reasonable that 50% of the jobs in the U.S. will be at risk of being replaced by artificial intelligence. Now, just let me add the caveat on why I'm somewhat optimistic. Now, it's a big deal for somebody who's worked in an industry for 30 years to be displaced. That's all they know. That's where they spent all their time. But what do they do now? And hopefully these people are thinking about the future and, again, building out their financial moat. But consider this. Back in the textile versus hand weaving era in the 19th century, machines were able to produce 50 times more than one person could produce, which resulted in a 98% job displacement. But goods were 4 times or much cheaper, and 4 times more jobs were created in the same sector from, indirect benefits. And, again, look at the auto versus the horse and buggy. Sure, you had a decline in horse-related jobs, but the automobiles grew. And now you have travel, all these indirect benefits. Now, all of a sudden you have travel that, who was thinking about all the motels that were going to be built when, the horse and buggy industry was destroyed, or the fast food industry. Now, like, oh, hey, people have cars and they can drive up. And so you have all these fast food industries that were implemented. So I think there's going to be a lot of displacement of jobs, not so much job destruction, but more displacement. There's going to be a lot of opportunities in the economy that we're not even wrapping our minds around, not even considering. Elon Musk believes there's going to be a 10x reduction in car crashes, once we have driverless cars. Of course, that's going to kill the number one occupation in the U.S., which is a driver. But, what about the HVAC guy, heating and air conditioning, who's now able to service a guy 50 miles away, as opposed to, hey, I don't want to drive through 2 hours of traffic because, the freeways are jammed. So anyways, I think there's a lot of positive that are going to come out of this. And that's why it's important. I think it's important to have a positive mindset because you can thrive in this change, but there's going to be a lot of change. And it might be the most disruptive that, we've seen in 100 years or in history. Who knows?
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of exciting things going on there. There's also scary stuff, but there's so much opportunity. I mean, I see it a lot, and you see this in the mainstream media because obviously they're pitching the universal basic income, right? Every single time they can. But what they don't understand is, as you've mentioned, we've heard this over and over. I heard coming out of university, and this was in the early 2000s, that how the internet was going to destroy all of these jobs and industries, right? And more millionaires have been created than ever on the internet, and especially self-made. I think it's something like 68% of millionaires right now is self-made millionaires. So there's enormous opportunity, and this is going to, as you just mentioned, open up so much other jobs around this industry, and so much opportunities for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, let me add to that, if I may. Already, we're seeing many opportunities arise. Look at Airbnb. So this is a website that has now created, thousands and thousands of new entrepreneurs, people that now rent out a room in their house or their whole house. And, there's 5 million listings on the website on any given day, and 300,000 leases a day are happening on Airbnb. So this is AI that's coordinating all of this to happen. So you can say, oh, somebody's job was lost, but there's a creation of millions of opportunities here, I don't know, hundreds of thousands a day, I would say. That would not take place had it not been for artificial intelligence and Airbnb. So things are going to develop. And, again, it's about just being in front of these trends and open to the change, because that's the thing. Change is happening at an exponential rate. And because of that, you don't exactly know where the world is going to look like in 5 or 10 years. And, you kind of got to stay educated if you want to stay relevant.
What are some of the opportunities that you guys are looking at and exploring on how to position yourself to invest in this evolving trend?
You know what? We actually don't have any specific plays right now, but I would tell everybody to go to crushthestreet.com/AI. We have a report there about how things are evolving and just some of the areas that we believe are going to be safer areas to be positioned in. And, some of those include just creative areas that, will be hard for artificial intelligence to completely wash away. It's going to be very difficult to be replaced if you're an artist. I know it's kind of a tough area to be to be involved in, but there's a lot of things that we can talk about in terms of where we think artificial intelligence is going to go, but it's very open right now, and you're going to have to be nimble. And so, I would encourage people to go to crushthestreet.com/AI for that report.
Kenneth, now one habit I've observed from wealthy and successful people is that they're always studying new subjects and learning new skill sets. What are you currently studying, and what skill sets are you currently learning?
You know what? I would tell people, I'm constantly trying to work on my people skills. As much as we're going into a computerized world, you need to learn to deal with people. If you've ever read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, they were talking about the most highly paid engineers are not the ones that know the specific trade. It's the ones that know how to deal with people that go into management and that, know how to really leverage a situation. Because again, if you don't know how to work with people, it's going to be very difficult for you to make money in this world. So you always have to be improving your people skills, learn how to deal with people, learn what people like, they don't like, what are people incentivized by. And if you can learn that, the opportunities in this world are endless, because then that's when you start to understand where the needs are in the economy. Where is there an opportunity to serve people? Because when you learn to give, when you learn to serve, that is where you can make money. Everyone talks about the giving principle, but they never take it a step further on why the giving principle works. And that is because when you provide value for the society around you, that's worth money to society. And, when you plant a lot of seeds, those seeds bear fruit. And that's how it comes back to you. So always be working on your people skills. We're looking at and just various sectors. I'm always researching the precious metals market. If you want to learn some more about the precious metals market, I would actually encourage you to go to crushthestreet.com/gold book. We'll send you some of these links too, if you would include it in the description area. But we're always looking at the precious metals market. We're looking at artificial intelligence. We're looking at blockchain. That we're still very early in the blockchain space. I think there's opportunities in real estate as well, carefully selected real estate, not in areas that, you're seeing massive migrations out of because of tyrannical governments. There's certain places in the U.S. that are benefiting from the mass migration that are moving away from California and New York and the areas that are very, very expensive. One of the areas that I've invested in, or a couple of the areas I've invested in, is, here in Texas and also certain cities in Florida that are booming. You got to be very careful in this environment, especially in a higher interest rate world. But because of that, there's still areas that are finite, and I like finite resources, and land in carefully selected areas is still a finite resource, and you have to be diversified.
Now, Now, a core message in our show is to leave our families, communities, and the world better than we found it by passing down a mindset, values, and principles to future generations, not just money. So if you cannot pass on any money to future generations, and we're only allowed to pass on 3 principles to them to build wealth and achieve happiness and success, what would they be?
Okay, well, you know what? This is such an important thing. My wife and I are entrepreneurs, and we're always looking for ways to, enhance our life. Our work, everything we do is kind of all in one. So, we don't go to work and then come back home and just disconnect from it. It's everything about what we do is, about our livelihood and what we do in terms of pursuing happiness. I would say, going back to the importance of people, learn to deal with people. This will translate into your family relationships, how to make your wife happy, how to make your family happy. Learn to give, and then not just frivolously give, but give of your time, give of your energy, give of your compliments. Learn to make people happy. Learn to really think about others in your life. And again, you'll be surprised how that turns into financial security, financial safety, because you've learned to give and give generously. Again, learn to deal with people. I don't know how many I'm throwing out here. You definitely want to save, learn to have boundaries in your lifestyle with the way you spend, have boundaries in the way you spend your day. One of the things that, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on here. But, so if I can give one more bit of advice, go to bed and write things down that you're going to do the next day, because this is super important when you wake up, is to be getting things done. Such an important habit of highly successful people is that they get the little things done. It's not just big concepts that we're talking about. It's about waking up, getting things done. And again, you'd be so surprised on how effective you'll be. And when you look back 5 or 10 years, how much you've accomplished. And with that, I'll turn it back to you.
Kenneth, how can my listeners learn more about you and your company and all of the reports that you're putting out, and stay informed of all of the projects that you're involved with?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for letting me come on the show. It's such an honor to speak with you. I love all that you're doing here. They can visit my work at crushthestreet.com. They can sign up for the free newsletter. We're always researching. We're always learning. We're growing together as a community. We have a lot of fun at Crush the Street. They can visit crushthestreet.com and sign up for the free newsletter. And, a lot of contributors at Crush the Street visit the website regularly for regular new content. Visit us there.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your journey and your knowledge and providing so much value for my listeners.
Thank you so much.
Life settlement investments have allowed financial and banking institutions to not only buy their equity contractually, but also diversify their capital from any economic, market, and geopolitical risk. It's been part of the billion-dollar blueprint followed by institutional investors. And if you're an accredited investor, you can also now participate in this vehicle with enormous growth potential. You can watch an informational webinar presented by one of the premier organizations providing life settlement investments, Penumbra Solutions, at cashflowninja.com/life settlements.
Producers and creators are the sources of all value on the planet. MC Laubscher, the host of the top-rated business and investing podcast Cashflow Ninja, is on a mission with Producers Wealth to help producers create, protect, and multiply their wealth outside of Wall Street in any economy by creating systems and processes that help them increase their production, provides them with liquidity, passive income generators, and opportunities for enormous growth. Learn more about their time-tested and proven systems at yourownbankingsystem.com. That's yourownbankingsystem.com. Thank you for joining me again on the Cashflow Ninja. Thank you for all your support. You rock. If you like what you hear and appreciate what we're trying to build here at the Cashflow Ninja, please subscribe, rate, and review our show on iTunes and share our show with family, friends, and your network. If you're not a subscriber to our newsletter, you can sign up for our newsletter at cashflowninja.com or text Cashflow Ninja to 44222.
222. I'm also posting daily videos on Facebook and YouTube and will live stream weekly starting May 2018. To make sure you don't miss any of the live streams, please like and subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube platforms. I'm also dropping content on Instagram daily. Be sure to follow us on Instagram to get in on the action. I want to thank you for spending your most precious resource with me today, your time. That's our show for today. Until next time, live a life of passion and purpose on your terms. This presentation is for educational and informational purposes only. The information being presented and considered does not consider your particular financial objectives or situation, and it does not make personalized recommendations. This material is not intended to replace the advice of a qualified tax and legal advisor or other qualified professionals, and you should not use the information in place of a customized consultation with a licensed professional regarding your specific personal financial objectives, situation, and needs. We believe the information provided is reliable, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, timeliness, or completeness.